Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of I Survived It, where our mission is for our guests to show up and share stories about an obstacle that they overcame and to help inspire our audience during these trying times. So today we have a special guest. We have Miss Charity Lynette. And she's just gonna, share some of her story. Hopefully, it inspires you guys to keep pushing and to keep moving. So thank you for coming on the show and agreeing to share your story with us.
Of course. Thank you for having me and thinking about me in this time. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. So let's just get started. So tell us a little bit about yourself before facing some of the challenges that we're going to talk about a little later.
Um, so I'm I've tend to kind of always been a person who just goes with the flow. I definitely will do something that might be better for someone else, but not necessarily myself. I tend to say
Mm.
yes to things when I should probably say no or not right now. And so I'd say I just generally have just been someone who is just a little more on the kind of chill, relaxed side of stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And then something happened. Well, it happened to all of us. The pandemic came along. It disrupted a lot of our lives. But you did something extraordinary during that time. Can you tell us about what you did?
Well, I started my own business. I was before the pandemic, I was at a salon and then I was working with a friend. But then when I moved and I realized the place that I was at was a perfect place for me to start my own hair business and open my own
Okay.
hair. Yeah.
So you were working as a hairstylist?
Yes. Natural hairstylist.
Okay. Okay. And what kind of services do you offer or did you offer?
So I do washes, trims, treatments, two strand twists, braids, box braids, crochet. My don't
Okay.
list is probably a little easier. I don't obviously do relaxers. I don't do flat irons.
Mhm.
I don't do glues and lace fronts of those things. I just stick to the natural hair.
And so, because I'm a cosmetologist myself, the pandemic kind of disrupted a lot of things for us because, we couldn't be in the salon, we couldn't work. Well, we weren't supposed to. I know a lot of people were still open. So
Yeah.
initially, when you heard that, what I guess what was your initial reaction when you realized, okay, I have to pivot and try to figure something else out?
Well, honestly, I had a home salon, so it was a little easier for me to maneuver. And I think because a lot of stuff was closed, it was a little easier for me to get that business. But I think for me, the pandemic really showed me just how to cater to clients in a different kind of way. I've always kind of prided myself on my customer service, but the pandemic helped me curate and kind of hone in on the way and how I want to service my clientele versus just the traditional salon vibes, 7, 8 chairs lined up. That is not how I want to do hair in the future at all. So the pandemic did really help me again, just narrow down my niche and just
Mm-hmm.
how to curate the customer experience while they're getting their hair done.
Okay. And it says here that you went through a breakup and you kind of had to like find yourself again after that. Can you tell us a little bit about that obstacle and how you were able to find yourself again, how you were able to get over that?
Honestly, it's one of those things I feel like when women we go above and beyond and do the most. And I don't want to say that men don't, but I feel like there's just way more experiences and stories of us just going again above and beyond. And so for me initially, mourn first. I'm going to say that do your crying, do whatever you got to do because it's something that needs to be done, right? It's part of the process. So for me it was just about doing stuff I wanted to do or doing stuff or not doing stuff I didn't want to do. So I think that was one of the things that was the most helpful for me because there was times where just like I legit wanted to do something and I did it and that brought me joy or that brought me happiness, whether it was something fun or just doing something that was going to take my mind off of everything that I was going through. I just really just had to get back to what I wanted to do, regardless of how it made anybody else felt. Long as I wasn't hurting anyone's feelings or anything like that, or being rude or disrespectful. So for me, it was just doing what I wanted to do.
And did you have anybody to help you through their process? Because, it says here that you had to kind of like fall back in love with yourself, doing those things that, were specifically for you. Was there anyone there, like a support system to help you through that?
I had certain friends that were there, but even that was part of the process, if I'm being honest. Just doing things or not, and for me, I feel like it's just not doing certain things, because those are the type of those are the things that were stretching me too thin, is catering and being nice and saying yes to people when I couldn't. And so for me, I'd say I had one friend who was definitely like showing me certain things, but I kind of leaned on friends just more to take my mind off of these things and have a good time, not necessarily for like their input, because I think I did that too much. I listened to too many people around me, instead of just listening to myself, because we know the answers. The answers are here, they're within. We don't need to ask everybody else. And that was one of the things I stopped doing, just made up my mind based off of what I wanted to do.
Yeah, and it sounds like, you set some boundaries, and like you said, we have a tendency to want to take care of everybody else and make sure everybody else's needs are taken care of and not our own. How did you find the strength to do that? Because I know it wasn't easy, especially after breakup, being
Yeah.
heartbroken. How did you find the strength to do that?
After crying and lots of crying and crying, I just again just started. What gave me strength, it was doing things that made me happy. So again, going back to the gym like I was supposed to, eating the places I wanted to eat, resting when I wanted to, because there were times that even when I was supposed to be resting, I'm still actively doing something for somebody else. So once I started to get that feeling of like, oh wow, that was good, or that was fun, or I'm proud of you for, doing the 2 out of 3 things on your to-do list today. Those little things like each day is what gave me the strength, because I was very proud of myself for getting certain things done.
And I heard you say that you were going to the gym. That brings us to, our next point. You said that you were a personal trainer. How did you, you took a long break. So how did that like fit into the mix of everything that was going on during the pandemic, during this breakup? Did you stop doing the personal training because of the pandemic? Like what made you stop doing that?
If I'm being honest, the one of the things with training, and here's the thing, I miss training a lot, right? But the work that you put out to receive and to get the clients and to get the membership is very different than hair. And if I'm being honest, it's way more work to get, keep, and attract workout clients. With hair, I don't have to do physically anything, because when I tell you Black women and men are going to get their hair done, they're going to get their hair done. People are not banging down my door to do workouts, unfortunately. So again, the chase was just very different after COVID. Before, I was my publicist, Ernest, helped me get any and everywhere. I was always on a step and repeat. I was always doing interviews. So the visibility was up. So that was a little different. But again, during COVID, we resorted to Zoom workouts and things like that, and it just wasn't the same. So then after, I have a home salon, I'm doing hair most days, like to integrate more time for workouts was just a little challenging, because it just started to hair just overrode everything, and I cannot ignore the money. I cannot ignore the money in the comparison of workouts and hair.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So even though you weren't training, were you still, keeping up a consistent workout, or did you just stop altogether?
So there were times where like I definitely was, but towards the end of the before my breakup happened, I definitely wasn't. COVID definitely took a, I loved being in the gym. I loved being outside. So for me, it was very hard to transition to being in the house bored. So there were moments where like I wouldn't work out for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks. So I definitely had my own kind of up and down struggle with it, and it also made it a little harder to train if I wasn't doing my part for myself.
Right, that makes sense. So, out of all the obstacles that you've overcome, over the last few years, how have they shaped your perspective on life? Did they give you a new outlook on life? Do you go into certain situations differently?
I feel like it definitely made me just more optimistic. I feel like I definitely have a clearer picture of the things that I want, the things that I need. And so now, when something doesn't quite fit that, I find a way to excuse myself or whatever the case may be. If it doesn't work out, that I'm not as stressed and pressed about it because, hey, what's going to work out is going to work out. So, again, when I start to recognize that this is not going to help me on the path to this goal, it's like, okay, we need to let this go because it's just going to be something blocking, your goals and things like that. So I try to make sure the extra stuff is aligned with, where I'm going and what I'm doing. Once it's not, you got to wash your hands of it.
Yeah, and that's good advice for others that are watching. Because I was going to ask you, what advice did you have for someone that are facing some obstacles right now? I feel like there's something going on with everybody. It may not be the exact same, but everybody's going through something, to break up, hardship in some kind of way. What ways can you think that to help them overcome those challenges?
I think that if you chase what you want and do things that make you happy, you are only inviting what's supposed to be in your orbit, right? My goals are different.
Mhm.
My cosmetology hair goals are different than your cosmetology and hair goals, right? But I
Right.
think if I chase my idea, I chase and do things the way that I want to do it, I'm already doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So the things that are going to come to me as I'm doing this, whether it's a bump in the road or it's a blessing, I've got to find a way to receive it and a way to go over it. But I
Mhm.
think when you just chase what you want to do, you just have to keep going, to stay in the direction of what you want to do. If that bump comes in the road, you got to get over it and keep chasing what you want. Don't do things for the sake of what your parents might want, what your spouse might want. Chase what you
Mhm.
want. I feel like you cannot go wrong.
Yeah, and that's a big lesson right there, because a lot of times we get influenced by our parents, our spouse, even our children sometimes, and they take you off the path that you've been set on.
Yeah.
So that's some really good advice. Um, excuse me. So since you've been through the things that you've been through, like how have they affected your goals in the future? Like have they changed like your future plans, like now that you've been through some things, so now it's like maybe I'm taking life more day one day at a time, or like how has that affected your goal setting for the future?
I'd say, again, just lining up with what makes me happy. Because I think when you step outside of that, that's when the resentment steps in, whether it's towards your partner, family member, whoever's dealing with you on a day to day.
Mm-hmm.
I think that allows that resentment to come in, and that's what's going to put you off from your goals. But versus just doing again what makes you genuinely happy for your day to day, whether it's a lot of money or not a lot of money, but if it's what makes
Mm-hmm.
your heart tick and makes you
Mm-hmm.
get up and happy about your movements, you're not going to go wrong with that. You can't.
So what are your future goals? Like what can we look forward to seeing from you in the future?
In the future from charity, I definitely want to take my hair business to another level. I definitely have some ideas with the customer experience when you come through my hair space. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I definitely want to start training again, but I think I'm gonna lean more towards probably like small group classes. I don't think that I have the capacity to deal with one-on-one people every day, but I think I want to move in the direction of maybe just like a workout class once or twice a week because I miss it. I definitely miss training. I miss those interactions, but again, the boundaries and the amount of day hours in a day is just not enough. So,
And this is the perfect time for it. It's the new year. Everybody's trying to hit the gym.
yeah, for sure.
So, out of everything that you've been through, what are you most proud of? What's your most significant accomplishment?
That's a good question. I honestly feel like just me coming to New York in general, because I left kind of abruptly. I had no money. I had never been here before, but I have made a living and made a life here that I cherish and I love. I cannot see myself living anywhere else at the moment. And I'm proud that I've been able to stick it out with, successfully. Like, I don't have complaints. And if I were to sit here to find something to complain about, I feel ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
So, you came there with no money and just started over?
I came to New York with $250. I had another $200 check on the way. I stayed with a
Mm.
friend from college and just, again, I had never been here. I was much more focused on modeling and acting upon my arrival, but every time I thought I was gonna have to leave, like something worked out. So I know I'm supposed to be here. Clearly, it's been 12 years. So
But
I
that's
think
definitely a powerful story. Moving with $250, starting, from scratch to where you are now is an awesome testament to, how you survived and how you kept going and how you just persevered. So I love that. Do you have any last bit of advice you want to give the audience of anybody, setting your boundaries we talked about, focusing on what makes you happy? Is there anything else that you could share just from your personal experience? Moving with $200, that's the whole show in and of itself. Like, how did you find the strength to do that? What were
just
the
gotta
circumstances around
you
that?
gotta believe in yourself. I knew I was gonna do something. I just didn't know what. Because if
Mm,
no one believes in you, like you have to believe that you are destined to do great things. And I feel like if people knew, like, we weren't put here to struggle, we were put here to live our
right.
deepest desires. Like, we were meant to be happy. And I think if we had more people had more of that mentality, it might be better for some people. But you have to believe it. You can't just like think it because I'm telling you. But you have to believe and know that like we are destined for greatness, regardless of statistics. I don't care about a recession. I don't care none of that. I don't care about none of that.
Yeah.
Destined for greatness.
Yep. And like you said, they can say recession all they want, but what they're going to do is get their hair done. I've never, people are going to
Okay.
get their hair done.
Somebody working and they need their hair done when they go
Okay.
to work.
Listen, that's one thing we're going to do is get our hair done. So that's dope. So, how can they find you? How can the people find you? Come get their hair done. They might want to be interested in your personal your group training classes that you might have coming in the future.
So I use a platform called Style Seat right now. So you can book me for fitness, excuse me. You can book me on Style Seat. Everything is searchable under Faith, Hope, and Hair. So Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. And again, if you search Faith, Hope, and Hair on Style Seat, I definitely pop up. And you can follow my Instagram, Curvy Chick Fitness Official, for just workout updates and the things that I'm going to be doing in that area.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today.
Yes.
I hope you guys were inspired. You took some nuggets from
Of
our show today. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me.
course. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You have a good evening.
You too. Bye bye.